Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about something that is powerful, personal, and life-changing. We are often told to love everyone around us, to give without expecting in return, and to embrace every relationship as a blessing. But what happens when the very people closest to us, those we consider family and friends, carry spirits, energies, or attitudes that are designed to hold us back, pull us down, or lead us astray? Today, I want to empower you with the knowledge of how to spot the demons that may be lurking in your circles. Yes, you heard me right, demons. These are not necessarily the creatures of folklore or horror stories. These demons come in the form of toxic behaviors, negative energy, and deceptive spirits, often masked in familiar faces. It's time for us to confront them, not with fear, but with faith and clarity. To begin, let's first recognize that the battle we face in our lives is not always against what we see. Oftentimes it's against what we cannot see, the unseen forces that influence, disturb, and even disrupt our progress. The truth is, your destiny is too precious to be distracted by those who intend to block it. The spirit of negativity, manipulation, jealousy, and envy are not just feelings, they are forces that want to hijack your peace. So how do you spot these demons in your life? First, pay attention to the energy people bring into your space. Not every conversation is uplifting. Not every encounter should leave you drained. If you find yourself constantly feeling weary, unsettled, or conflicted after spending time with someone, this is a clear red flag. Demons thrive on draining your energy, depleting your joy, and weighing down your spirit. When you walk away from someone, you should feel empowered, encouraged, and at peace, not exhausted and defeated. Remember, the energy you allow around you will determine the energy you have within you. Second, listen to the words spoken around you. Proverbs 18:21 tells us that life and death are in the power of the tongue. Your words have the power to heal or harm, to build or break. If you are constantly surrounded by negativity, gossip, or criticism, you must understand that these are not mere words. They are tools used by demons to sow discord. It's important to discern what is being said and ask yourself, is this conversation bringing me closer to my purpose, or is it pushing me further away? If you find that the words you hear consistently undermine your confidence or stir up feelings of doubt, it may be time to distance yourself from such influences. Third, recognize the pattern of manipulation. Demons often work in subtle, sneaky ways. They don't always come with blatant hostility. Sometimes they hide behind manipulation, making you feel guilty or responsible for things that are not yours to carry. They play on your insecurities and exploit your kindness. Pay attention to the people who guilt trip you into doing things that don't align with your values or drain your resources, be it emotionally, financially, or mentally. These individuals are not motivated by love, they are motivated by control, and they will keep you bound in unhealthy cycles if you allow it. Finally, watch for the seeds of jealousy and envy. These are powerful demons that often appear when someone feels threatened by your potential, success, or joy. Jealousy does not look like a monster with horns. It looks like the friend who dismisses your accomplishments, belittles your dreams, or tries to dim your light. When someone begins to sow seeds of doubt about your potential or belittle your achievements, it's time to recognize the spirit of jealousy at work. You were created to shine, and no one should ever make you feel less than for doing so. But hear me loud and clear, ladies and gentlemen. Recognizing these demons is only the first step. The power is in how you respond. This is your moment to take action, to reclaim your peace, and to protect your destiny. You have the authority to set boundaries, to walk away from toxic situations, and to safeguard your heart. It's time to stand firm in your worth, to say no to what's not serving you, and to surround yourself with those who encourage your growth, not hinder it. You are worthy of relationships that lift you higher. You are worthy of spaces that breathe life into you. And you have the strength to walk away from anything or anyone that threatens your peace, your purpose, or your progress. As you go forward today, take this truth with you. You are powerful beyond measure. You are capable of spotting the demons in your life, and with the wisdom and courage God has placed within you, you can rise above them. The battle is not just external, it is internal. The victory is not just in your circumstances, it is in your decisions. Choose wisely, choose boldly, and choose to protect your peace. Discernment is one of the most powerful tools we have when navigating relationships, especially with those closest to us like friends and family. In the context of spotting demons in these relationships, discernment means having the ability to see beyond what is immediately visible and recognizing the negative energies, toxic behaviors, or manipulative tactics that might be subtly operating around us. It's not about being suspicious of everyone or projecting negativity onto others. It's about developing a keen sense of awareness so that we can protect our peace and guard our hearts from harm. When we talk about spotting demons, we aren't referring to literal creatures. Rather, we are acknowledging the unseen forces, the spiritual and emotional influences that can shape the dynamics of relationships. Some people in our lives may unintentionally or even consciously bring negativity, manipulation, or harmful energy into our world. Discerning these spirits, behaviors, or intentions is critical to ensure that we are not bound by them, that we aren't unknowingly allowing these harmful energies to control our lives. Discernment allows us to recognize these forces for what they are and act accordingly. It helps us identify when the atmosphere around us is toxic and when someone may be using subtle tactics to hinder our growth, peace, or sense of self. To develop discernment, we must first learn to listen to our inner voice, that gut feeling or spiritual nudge that can alert us when something feels off. This inner wisdom is a divine gift. And when we learn to trust it, it becomes a powerful guiding force. Often we ignore our intuition in favor of keeping the peace or avoiding conflict. But when we do this, we risk allowing negativity to settle into our lives, relationships, and hearts. Discernment encourages us to honor that inner voice, to trust that feeling when we sense someone's words or actions don't align with their true intentions. Beyond listening to our intuition, we must also observe the patterns of behavior around us. Demons often don't manifest in one-off moments. They show up repeatedly, influencing the rhythm of the relationship. If someone consistently leaves you feeling drained, belittled, or manipulated, this isn't just a random occurrence, it's a pattern. Discerning these patterns is essential. Are there constant moments where your boundaries are crossed? Do you feel emotionally drained after being around certain people? Are there repeated conversations that chip away at your self-esteem or sense of security? These are signs that something deeper may be at play. And discernment helps us see beyond surface level interactions to identify the root cause. Discernment also requires us to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we want to believe the best in people, especially when they are close to us. But if we are honest with ourselves, we can recognize when someone's actions don't match their words, or when their love and care come with strings attached. A discerning heart will be able to see when someone is manipulating the situation for their own gain, controlling through guilt or shame, or using subtle forms of jealousy and criticism to undermine our confidence and progress. But it's also important to remember that discernment isn't just about seeing the faults in others. It's about evaluating the spirit within ourselves as well. We must ask ourselves if we're allowing negative energy to fester within us. Are we engaging in toxic behaviors or harboring resentment that could be infecting our relationships? Sometimes the discernment we need most is the ability to examine our own hearts and intentions. This self-awareness allows us to be more empathetic and compassionate while still maintaining healthy boundaries. Lastly, discernment calls us to take action. It's not enough to simply identify toxic patterns or recognize when we're surrounded by negativity. We must take the necessary steps to protect ourselves, our peace, and our purpose. This might mean distancing ourselves from certain individuals, setting clearer boundaries, or confronting someone about their behavior. It might require us to be brave enough to let go of relationships that no longer serve us, even if they are family or close friends. Discernment empowers us to take action, to choose to walk away from relationships that are hurting us and to embrace relationships that uplift and encourage our growth. In conclusion, discernment is more than just a skill. It is a way of life, a way of being that empowers us to protect our peace, safeguard our purpose, and maintain a life filled with love and positivity. As we develop this gift, we learn to spot the demons that might try to creep into our relationships, and we gain the wisdom and courage to rise above them, keeping our hearts, minds, and spirits aligned with the truth and the path we are meant to walk. Jealousy and envy are also powerful forms of negative energy that can seep into relationships. The energy of someone who is jealous or envious of your success, happiness, or growth can be toxic, even if it's not openly expressed. You may notice subtle shifts in their behavior, such as dismissing your achievements, undermining your progress, or projecting their insecurities onto you. This kind of energy can feel suffocating because it seeks to diminish your light so that it can feel better about its own limitations. Understanding how to identify this energy and protect yourself from its impact is key to maintaining healthy relationships. What makes energy even more powerful is its ability to influence the people around us. When we allow negative energy to persist in our lives, it affects more than just us. It affects everyone in our sphere of influence. That's why it's essential to spot toxic or draining energy in your relationships early and take action to protect your space. You have the right to safeguard your peace and choose the relationships that nourish your spirit rather than deplete it. So how do you respond to this recognition of energy? You protect yourself. You set boundaries. You learn to say no. You reclaim your space and your peace. You choose to walk away from relationships or situations that continuously drain you. And you surround yourself with those who uplift and support your growth. Understanding the power of energy is a transformative tool that allows you to take control of your environment so you can protect your peace, preserve your joy, and continue to walk in your purpose without being held back by the negative forces around you. In the end, paying attention to the energy in your life is not just about identifying toxic people or situations. It's about being aware of how your energy interacts with the world. By learning to spot the demons hiding in the energy of your relationships, you can choose to protect your heart, your spirit, and your destiny. You are worthy of peace. And by paying attention to the energy around you, you can create a life that is full of positivity, love, and light. Boundaries are one of the most powerful tools we can use to protect our peace, our hearts, and our well-being, especially when navigating complex relationships with friends and family. In the context of spotting demons in those closest to us, boundaries serve as a safeguard to prevent toxic behaviors, negative energy, and manipulative tactics from infiltrating our lives. Establishing and maintaining boundaries is not only essential for our mental and emotional health, but also for maintaining healthy, loving relationships Without boundaries, we are vulnerable to being emotionally drained, manipulated, or even harmed by the very people who should be our support system. When we talk about setting boundaries, we aren't referring to walls that keep others out. True boundaries are about creating healthy guidelines that protect our energy, our space, and our time. They allow us to honor ourselves, our needs, and our values, while still maintaining respect for others. However, many people, especially those who have been conditioned to put others' needs before their own, often struggle with setting boundaries. The fear of disappointing loved ones or the desire to maintain harmony can sometimes make us ignore our own needs, allowing others to overstep, control, or drain us. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing that they are necessary, especially when dealing with toxic or harmful energy. If you've ever found yourself in a situation where you felt disrespected, manipulated, or taken advantage of by someone close to you, it's a clear sign that boundaries are needed. A person who regularly crosses your boundaries, whether it's through disrespect, guilt tripping, emotional manipulation, or undermining your values, is often unknowingly allowing negative or even demonic influences to work in the relationship. Setting firm boundaries in these situations is not a sign of selfishness, but rather a sign of self-love and respect. Boundaries are essential because they help you maintain control over your emotional and mental well-being. For instance, if a family member or friend regularly makes hurtful comments about your choices, your appearance, or your goals, setting a boundary would involve standing up for yourself and expressing that such comments are not acceptable. You don't need to explain yourself, but rather you should assertively communicate that you will not tolerate being treated in that way. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been allowing this behavior for a long time, but in the long run, it's crucial for your mental and emotional health. Setting boundaries also means protecting your time and energy. People who are constantly demanding your attention, making you feel responsible for their happiness, or using guilt to manipulate you into doing things you don't want to do are exhibiting toxic behaviors that are draining your energy. These are the kinds of demons we need to spot in our relationships. Boundaries help you understand that you have the right to say no without feeling guilty. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing your peace, your time, or your needs over their demands. Whether it's a family member who calls you repeatedly during your work hours or a friend who drains you emotionally without offering support in return, learning to set limits and say no will protect you from being overwhelmed and emotionally depleted. What makes boundaries particularly powerful is that they don't just protect you, they also teach others how to treat you. When you set clear boundaries, you are teaching those around you that you value yourself and your time. This may be uncomfortable for people who have been accustomed to taking advantage of you, but it's necessary for cultivating respect and healthy relationships. Some people may push back when you establish boundaries because they're used to manipulating or controlling the dynamic. But stand firm. A person who genuinely cares about you will respect your boundaries, and this will lead to more honest, fulfilling relationships. On the other hand, someone who resents your boundaries or attempts to disregard them is revealing their true character and their lack of consideration for your well-being. In some cases, setting boundaries may also mean distancing yourself from toxic or harmful people, even if they are family. This is one of the hardest things to do, but sometimes it's the most necessary. A relationship that is consistently filled with manipulation, disrespect, or negativity can become a breeding ground for emotional harm. Cutting ties with someone or creating a healthy distance is not a sign of failure, but an act of courage and strength. It may be difficult to let go of people you love, but your peace is more important than holding on to relationships that bring you nothing but heartache and stress. Learning to spot the demons in your relationships and establishing boundaries is not about creating division, it's about creating space for growth, healing, and self-love. Boundaries empower you to reclaim your energy and protect your heart from negative influences. They help you navigate relationships with clarity and confidence, knowing that you have the right to be treated with respect and kindness. By setting boundaries, you are not only protecting yourself, but also teaching others how to love and respect you in a way that fosters true, healthy connection. In the end, boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They are about saying yes to yourself. Saying yes to your peace, your purpose, your mental health, and your emotional well-being. With healthy boundaries, you can create relationships that are uplifting, nurturing, and aligned with your highest good, and you'll be able to walk through life free from the weight of toxic influences and negative energy. Toxicity in relationships is one of the most insidious forces that can slowly erode our peace, joy, and sense of self-worth. It's not always obvious at first, and often it manifests in subtle, damaging ways that may be hard to pinpoint. When we talk about spotting demons in friends and family, toxicity is one of the most critical things to be aware of because it often hides behind familiar faces in relationships we've known for years. It can be easy to overlook or dismiss toxic behavior from those we love, but in order to protect ourselves and preserve our peace, we must learn to recognize the signs and take action. Toxicity can come in many forms. It can be overt, like constant criticism, emotional manipulation, or attempts to control, but more often than not, it appears in more subtle forms. Backhanded compliments, passive aggressive comments, or the silent treatment. These are the types of demons that creep into our lives, disguised as normal interactions, but their effects can be just as damaging as more obvious forms of abuse. The hardest part about spotting toxicity in friends and family is that we often assume these behaviors are normal because we've grown accustomed to them. We justify the negative behavior or make excuses for it because we want to maintain the relationship or avoid conflict. However, this only allows the toxicity to fester and continue to harm us. One of the most destructive aspects of toxic relationships is how they slowly chip away at our sense of self. The subtle criticisms, the constant undermining, or the emotional manipulation are often designed to make us question our worth. If someone is consistently belittling your accomplishments, making you feel inferior, or constantly pointing out your flaws, it's a clear sign that toxicity is at play. Demons in the form of toxic people will often try to lower your self-esteem in order to control you or diminish your light. Over time, if you're not careful, you may begin to internalize these negative comments and start to doubt your own abilities, your potential, and your worth. This is why it's so important to spot toxicity early, to protect your mental health and emotional stability. Another sign of toxicity in relationships is manipulation. Manipulative behavior is one of the most dangerous forms of toxicity because it's often hidden beneath layers of charm or emotional appeal. A toxic person will try to control your actions, emotions, or decisions, often making you feel guilty or responsible for their happiness or problems. They may guilt trip you into doing things you don't want to do, or they may use your kindness and generosity against you. The key to spotting manipulation is to pay attention to how you feel after interacting with someone. If you consistently feel drained, conflicted, or like you've been coerced into making decisions you didn't want to make, that's a sign that manipulation is at play. Toxicity can also manifest through jealousy and envy, two of the most harmful demons in relationships. When someone is constantly jealous or envious of your achievements, happiness, or success, it creates an unhealthy dynamic in the relationship. Rather than celebrating your victories with you, a toxic person may try to diminish your accomplishments, dismiss your dreams, or even sabotage your progress. This kind of negativity can be incredibly damaging, as it not only affects your self-esteem, but can also create tension and division in the relationship. If you notice a pattern of jealousy where someone in your life consistently undermines your success or makes you feel like your happiness is a threat to them, that is a clear sign that toxicity is present. The emotional toll of toxic relationships can be overwhelming. It can leave you feeling constantly on edge, anxious, or uncertain about where you stand. Toxic people can create a constant sense of instability and unpredictability, making it hard to feel safe or secure in the relationship. The emotional whiplash of loving someone who is toxic can be exhausting. It can leave you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid conflict or keep the peace. This kind of emotional turbulence is a clear indicator that something is wrong. True relationships should bring a sense of calm, love, and mutual respect, not constant anxiety and tension. To spot toxicity, you must also be aware of the patterns of behavior over time. Toxic relationships rarely change overnight, and the same negative behaviors will tend to resurface again and again. Someone who truly values and respects you will make an effort to improve the relationship, communicate openly, and work through difficulties in a healthy manner. On the other hand, someone who is toxic will continue to manipulate, control, or undermine you without any regard for your feelings. If you see this pattern consistently, it's important to recognize it for what it is and take action to protect yourself. The first step in dealing with toxicity is recognizing it. Once you spot the demons in your relationships, you must take the necessary steps to set boundaries, protect your energy, and prioritize your well-being. This may mean having difficult conversations, distancing yourself from toxic people, or even walking away from relationships that no longer serve you. It's not easy, especially when those toxic individuals are family members or longtime friends, but it is necessary for your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. In the end, you have the power to protect yourself from toxicity. You don't have to allow these negative forces to dictate your life or your happiness. By learning to spot toxic behavior early, you can safeguard your peace and create relationships that are uplifting, loving, and supportive. You deserve to be surrounded by people who build you up, not tear you down.
Let's stay connected, stay positive, and grow together. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Stay safe, stay inspired, and see you in the next video.